My name is Cam Smith, and this is my speech for my public speaking class over professions and their day-to-day aspect after speaking with a professor. So here we go. So thank you. So my speech is about working in golf. Now, when most people think about working in golf, they picture someone standing on a fairway, maybe giving a lesson or riding a cart around a nice little course out there. And, sure, that's part of it. But if you really want to understand, what it means to work in golf management and in golf operations, day in and day out, there's a much bigger picture than that. I actually have begun to work in the golf industry, and I had an opportunity to speak with a professor of golf management and a golf pro at one of the courses over in Western Oklahoma here. And what I have found is that golf management is one of the most multi-dimensional jobs that you will really encounter on this planet. At any given moment, you range from a groundskeeper to a teacher to an event planner, a hospitality manager. It's kind of all rolled into one here. So I'm going to walk through what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. So one of the first things that you learn when you work at a golf facility is that the course it's a living, breathing thing. It's a piece of nature, and it requires constant attention. And you're going to work hand in hand with your superintendent. He or she is a core part of the job. Every day you're tracking things like green health, fairway health, turf conditions, moisture levels, soil conditions. If the greens are too slow, members are going to complain. If they're too fast after a dry spell, you risk damaging those greens. And it's a constant balancing act between what looks good, what plays good, and then what's going to hold up long term for the course. It's a highly technical work. The superintendent typically studies agronomy. It's the science of soil and crop management. And as a golf manager, you need to understand their world and, enough to make informed decisions together, because you might not be the one who's actively doing that work, but you need to know why it's being done and how it's going to affect the play for the members over those next couple of weeks, of course. And, another major piece of the job is instruction. And, whether you're a PGA certified teaching professional or just managing the lesson program, golf instruction is at the heart of what a club does for its members. And, teaching golf, it's not just about teaching the correct swing mechanics. It's about being able to communicate those mechanics in a way that work for a specific person standing in front of you. Because, think about it, in the morning, you might be giving a lesson to a 70-year-old retired man. And then in the afternoon, you're teaching a kid who plays on a high school team. And then, later on, you're teaching a guy who's playing in an amateur tournament and, has just been having some trouble around the green. So it's a very different, you've got such a different client base that you need to be able to adapt your tone and your analogies and your patience and feedback level to each person. You have to be able to read people quickly. Some respond to visual demonstrations, and others need to feel the motion, and some want those detailed breakdowns, and another guy just wants to hear you say, hey, choke up on the club a little bit. The best instructors in this industry are really part psychologists. And in the game of golf, it's a game of millimeters, and you have to really be in tune with the mind in the golf industry. But obviously, beyond the course and its lessons, it's also a people business. It's a managing business. A huge part of your day is, of course, overseeing the pro shop employees, your starters, your cart staff, your superintendent's team, and then you're scheduling, training, and resolving conflicts frequently. And you got to make sure that everyone's working towards a great experience for the golfer. And on the member side, it can be even more nuanced. A private club might have a few hundred members, and each of them feels a personal connection to the course and to that club. They pay significant dues. They have expectations. And, your job is to ideally meet and exceed those expectations, while managing, all of your other priorities, and sometimes with limited resources, especially, post-COVID. Not every course is blessed with the resources that they once had. So it's a delicate process. But, ultimately it's relationship management at its highest level. Now, something that might surprise you is that when you first get into the golf industry, golf management has a lot in common with event planning and hospitality. Running a member guest tournament, a club championship, or a charity scramble is full production. You're coordinating tee times, setting up scoring systems, organizing food, beverage, communicating with sponsors. You've got to manage volunteers and keep everything running on time, and often for large groups of people. And these events matter. They're often the highlight of a member's golf year, and a well-run tournament is what's going to build that loyalty and that client base, that community. And a poorly run one is going to get posted about in the community. So it's a delicate process. So all in all, what does a day in golf management actually look like? Like, on any given morning, you might walk the course with your superintendent to assess some overnight conditions, field some member questions about an upcoming tournament. Then you might be out giving a junior golf lesson and reviewing some tournament registration stuff over lunch. And then in the afternoon, you got to deal with vendors over getting your pro shop accurately and correctly stocked with the upcoming items. I mean, there are new golf balls and clubs coming out every single month with different models and varieties. There's a lot to go over. And ultimately, though, golf is a gentleman's game. It's built on integrity, tradition, and community. And the people who manage those facilities are trying to carry forward a culture every single day. You're not just selling rounds of golf. You're creating an experience in a community, and carrying down a pastime that has been around for hundreds of years. Golf management was something that I hadn't really considered a couple of years ago. It wasn't something that looked like would be possible in my line, but where my career is going right now, it's something that I'm definitely interested in, and seeing the day-to-day process of it was absolutely a great experience for me. Thank you.